Dante, Virgil, and Statius have emerged from the purifying fires of Purgatorio's last level just as the sun is setting, and they are forced to rest in their journey. While they sleep on the steps leading up to the top of the mountain, Dante tells us, "Young and lovely in my dream appeared a lady in a clearing, gathering flowers, who sang as she went. Whoever asks my name will learn that it is Leah. As I go, my busy fingers weave me a garland such as I love to see myself adorned with in my mirror. My sister Rachel never moves from her looking-glass. There she sits all day, stares longingly into her own lovely eyes. We were the two wives of Jacob. We are two spiritual paths, the active and the contemplative. My contentment comes from dressing myself in the beauty of good works, while she's happy just to gaze at truth and see herself seeing it. Rachel's mirror is the soul. Look into yourself if you would see God." Rachel is seated. Unlike Leah, she has a halo, to indicate the standard medieval belief, which Dante shares, that the life of contemplation is best, though the active life is certainly good. The contrast between Rachel's heavenward gaze and Leah's concentration on the earthly work before her reinforces this point. The angel who ushers Dante forwards at right is probably not the angel who admitted the three poets to the final level at the end of the last canto. Rather, it indicates we are now on the brink of heaven. In fact, angels swarm in the following cantos. We are now in the densely forested earthly paradise. At right, Dante is speaking with Matilda, guardian of the rivers that flow through it. Behind them, we see Virgil looking rather puzzled. As a virtuous pagan who never knew the scriptural revelations, he is baffled by matters on these spiritual heights. Nonplussed, he stares up at the angel. Dante has been led by Matilda to where he sees an allegoric parade representing the scriptural realm. Here the symbolic, condensing bent of the artist begins to really show its power. The allegoric forms are what he handles best, and he presents the most outlandish ones with matchless clarity and conviction. The procession is led by 24 elders, who represent the books of the Old Testament. The illumination in which they move is shown by their white robes and golden crowns, as by the addition of the sun and the moon to the stars overhead. Here we may note that the skies of Purgatory in this manuscript have always been starry, even though no movement is possible at night due to Purgatory's mysterious laws. The decision for darkness was no doubt because blue is the background color that makes the foreground figures stand most vividly out. The 7 candlesticks, which actually lead the procession, are situated at center rather than in front, showing their importance rather than their position. The 7 are a magical number of luminaries, which are never precisely defined. They were borrowed from the beginning of the Book of Revelation and establish the scriptural validity of Dante's vision. Behind the candlesticks and elders comes a golden chariot, which for Dante represents the church. It is drawn by a griffin, a standard medieval symbol for Christ, since its eagle-lion form unites heavenly and earthly modes of being. In Dante's poem, the beast is described as being white and ruddy, a line from the Song of Solomon, used in Christian liturgy to describe Christ as the groom who weds the church. In the original verse, the meaning was that the figure of the lover was aristocratically pale with ruddy cheeks, a line which here was taken rather literally to mean white with red spots. The chariot is surrounded by 4 spiritual beasts, each with 6 wings, and the forms of a lion, a man, an ox, and an eagle. These appeared in Ezekiel as the 4 spirits supporting the chariot, which is the throne of God. In Christian symbolism, these four were identified with the four evangelists, and here they represent the four Gospels. To make the identification even clearer, the chariot is followed by four bearded figures with halos, who represent the four evangelists. Note that the figures who are the 24 books of the Old Testament have crowns instead of halos, showing the lesser grade of revelation they were vouchsafed. At the end of the parade is the Book of Revelation. In medieval art, the visionary quality of this book was often shown by representing John with closed eyes. The chariot is accompanied by the four natural virtues, prudence, fairness, moderation, and bravery, whose faces shine. The remaining three companions of the chariot, faith, hope, and charity, being Christian and theological virtues, have halos. They wear the colors Dante describes, red for love, white for faith, and green for hope. In the background behind John the Revelator, we see the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which grows in the center of the earthly paradise. The devil, a serpent with a human head, indicating a rational spirit taking on the form of an animal, coils around the tree to remind us of its history. The last of the illustrations to Purgatorio shows the procession of the Church and Scriptures reascending to heaven. At bottom left, we see Adam and Eve covering their nakedness, with the serpent in the tree behind them. Now Christ himself, holding the banner of the Church militant, occupies the golden chariot of the Church, drawn by the griffin, which represents Christ in his dual divine and human nature, still carefully marked as white and ruddy, to show that Christ is the groom and the Church is his bride. The chariot is flanked by the four creatures who represent the evangelists. The sun and moon are given in the lower right to indicate that the radiant orb we glimpse in the top left is the bright sphere of heaven, towards which the Church goes her triumphant way.